Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. I'm Pastor Allen, and I have a short devotion for Tuesday. And it comes from what happened on Sunday with our microphone. Now, in order for our microphone to work, we've got our part that you speak into right here that takes the voice and converts it into electrical impulses. And it runs through the cord. You can see the cord here. And it comes to the plug, which plugs into the phone. And that's a special TRRS plug. I guess you didn't know this was going to get so technical. So that plugs into the phone. That takes the electrical impulses and puts them into the internet so that they can be used. But in between all of that is this little connector. And this takes a battery. There's no battery in here because the way I'm using it, it doesn't need a battery, but it takes a battery. And see right here, it says camera and off for smartphone. That's why it doesn't require a battery. But sometime Sunday when I was moving, I dragged it across the floor and this little switch here snagged. And when that switch snagged, it slid up and it went to camera. Well, when it's on the camera setting and you're using a smartphone, it does not work. And so because of that little snag and that change of the switch, there was no audio going out through the feed. You know, it's the same thing with us as Christians. You know, we connect with God, or we think we're connected with God. We've got the microphone correct on one end. We're plugged in to God, and we're praying, but sometimes that doesn't work. And one of the reasons is because there's sin, and sin breaks that connection with God. Just like me dragging the cord across the carpet, it broke the connection. And everything looked right. It was right on my end where the voice was going in, and it was connected on the other end where the voice was going out, but because the switch was not in the right place, no sound was going through. And it's the same way for us. We, in our lives, when we connect with God, sometimes we think everything's right. You know, we're Christians, we're praying, we're reading the Bible, but sometimes we let sin get in the way of things. And when we do that, sin breaks the connection with God. So what we need to do before we pray, before we read the Bible, before we communicate with God, we need to make sure our hearts are right. We need to confess the mistakes that we've made, the sins that we've made. And trust me, it's very easy to do that. Even though we don't go out much, even though we're locked in, sometimes we don't think the right things about people. Sometimes we say the wrong things. Sometimes we do the wrong things. And those are the things that break our communication with God. And sometimes we feel like God is not communicating with us, even though we're communicating with Him. And as you notice Sunday, if you watch the video, all the connections were right. Everything was right. But that switch was in the wrong position. And in the same way in our lives, if everything looks right, but our hearts are not right, then it serves to break the connection with God, and we don't have the results that we could receive, that we should receive, and the results that we want. So make sure that your heart is right when you read the Word. when you communicate with God, because that's very important. And the Bible tells us that we should make sure that our connection, our heart is right with our brothers and sisters, and our heart is right also with God. Just a brief word for Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll talk to you later.